WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
The name of the show is We Should Know. I'm your host, J.W. Simmons. Want to thank you for being with us today, and for all our viewers that look for us each week at 2:30. Every week on Star Communications Channel 16, and also simulcast on WCLN Radio. Our guest today is Ray Jordan. Ray, your name is synonymous out there, and I think one of the reasons is because you wear so many hats, and a couple of those I want to talk about today is the Executive Director of the Sampson County Exhibition Center, also known as the Civic Center. Some folks refer to it as the Ag Civic Center. The other title is Assistant Director of the Sampson County Economic Development, and that's a huge, huge hat within itself. But I want to start with the Civic Center. Tell us what's going on with the Civic Center. What has happened as we move post-COVID-19? It's been a very tenuous 2 years for you, has it not?
It has, JW. And first, thank you for letting me be on the show with you today. As far as the Expo Center, obviously like most other theaters and convention centers across the state and the country, and we were closed down in March 14th of 2020. During that period, until we were able to reopen, we lost about 350 events where people had scheduled, which is a significant loss. As we were approaching Christmas this year, our spring rentals were picking up. And then when we went in as December continued and we were entering January with a resurgence of COVID cases, our clients began to cancel again for the first quarter. The bright news is our clients are now booking for the late fall and in 2023. So we're very excited by that. But I will tell you, in an 18-month period, as of February, the 18 months prior, we had 160 events that were canceled, that in a lot of cases, those events had been scheduled originally and had been rescheduled once or twice, in some cases 3 times, where our clients were trying to continue to have their events. So that's had the impact. Now, while I say all that, there's been quite a bit of positive out of it. For nearly every week for going on 19 months, there's been the food distribution event that has occurred in the parking lot. That's through the 3-in-1 Family Center, and a lot of local organizations have been involved with distributing food within the community or to the residents from the community. So that's been going on. We also had over 60 COVID vaccination clinics and or testing events that occur there, trying to serving the public. Additionally, we had quite a few of our local organizations that typically rent the building that produce virtual events. In a lot of cases, Star Communications film those events and then broadcast for those clients. So we were trying to stay active. So as the restrictions were eased, we started having events based on the social distancing. But it's been nice now to be able to get people back in the building, and we're finally what I would say open for full business, which is good. And we've got a lot of events scheduled and are coming up in the next between now and Christmas and into 23.
When I hear you comment on this pandemic year or years and the post-pandemic year, it strikes me that the Civic Center generates hundreds of thousands of dollars annually that is regenerated multiple times back into the community. Do you think folks grasp the volume of that and the impact of it?
Well, I think, several years ago, during when we were working on one of our budget years, one of the things that we assembled was information based on the events we have. in the building, trying to show clarity to the commissioners and our board on the impact that the building has through events within the community. I often joke with people that the least expensive part of having an event at the Expo Center is the building rent itself. Mm-hmm. The most common type of event that we have, JW, is a banquet. The average attendance, and I'm talking about a long-term count of events and attendance, but you would have an average attendance of around 350 people. So that would be the average size and type event. So we have more banquets than anything else. And at the time, what we did was we just simply took the things that were easily quantifiable for an average event. For example, the catering, the food, and maybe some sort of entertainment. But we really tried to limit it to the catering, food, and services that are provided for most average events. And at the end of the day, when you took a 325-person event, it generated about $19,000 in additional expenditures for that client hosting the event. And that's in the form of catering, decorating, and say, for example, flower arrangements, those things. So we drilled down primarily with decorating and catering because those are the two that people most often had to have. And as we got down to it, the average caterer that was there would have anywhere from 12 to 14 people working. Likewise, with the decorations, there would be anywhere from 3 to 6, depending on the company. So, and then so you think about, they pay the building rent. Just say, like today, it's $1,400 for the Prestige Hall. So subtract 14 out of 18 or 19,000. You can see the difference. And then the money that's paid to that decorator or that caterer who works in that building, not for us, but for the client. And then you find then that how they're paying these number of people that work for them, so the trickle effect down. Then if you multiply that on our 24-year average, it's going to be very skewed because of 2 years of no events. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to back up and say in the previous 22 years prior to COVID, we would average right at 330 events a year. Now, not all of them are that big, but you can see if you just take out, say, 50 banquets and multiply that, you see the turnover effect that it has in the community.
I think one of the interesting things is, and I guess an obvious question for me, because I know you remember this, and many of our listeners may remember, when that particular location first started back during the commissioner at that time was Kermit Williamson, mm-hmm. and it was a bowling alley, as I recall. It's just beyond imagination to somebody to have the vision to say, we're going to take a bowling alley and we're going to turn it into what people see now. And a lot of folks may not know that history. You might want to touch on that.
I'll give you just a very quick historical perspective of it. The original idea for the Expo Center, which is the name, originated in 1985. At that time, there was a group that was presenting what was the old Sampson County Expo. Mm-hmm. It was held in a local tobacco warehouse. Mm-hmm. The theme of that event was what Sampson makes Sampson. So those guys formed a committee, and all of those guys came out of the JCs. And I know I'll start naming them, leaving some out, but it was Kermit Williamson, Jimmy Matthews, Quincy Edgerton, Elman Lindsay, and George Upton, and some others. Yeah. And so these guys saw the need for a space based on the event they were doing. So how it came to be was they approached the city and the county in '85, and the city and the county each agreed to pay $125,000 each for the purchase of the property. And that building at the time was a bowling alley. It started out as a bowling alley, then it was a cut and sew operation, and then it sat vacant until this. So they purchased the building, and then JW, the most amazing thing was that all the renovations and all the chairs, tables, all the things that went into it beyond the original $250,000 that the city and the county combined put in was all donated by the community. So every bit of that building beyond that first initial amount that the city and the county put in, all the upfit on it was done there. And Mr. Caldwell Williamson, he led the charge of the remodeling and doing the work. So it opened and it ran from early, maybe late 85, early 96 until 1997, and they operated that way. And the Chamber of Commerce at the time was doing the day-to-day operation. So at the point that building needed upfitting and repair, and then that's when the idea when Kermit came on board to help push forward to create what's there today, which is the addition of the Prestige Hall and all the other spaces that are in the building. So that's kind of a history lesson on it. And then the county has operated it from 1997 to today.
It is tremendous when you think about not only the history that you very well just explained, but the potential of what has happened and the growth and the volume of money. When we come back from this break, I want to let's talk about some of the things that's going on today, some of the expectations you've got from this point forward, and also touch on the potential of how you maintain that physical aspect of gathering versus not necessarily a conflict, but the growing, comfort of virtuality. And I think that's something that all people that do what you do have to deal with. So we'll take a quick break and we'll come back. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being with us today. We're talking with Ray Jordan, somebody that is, you might not see him sometimes, but somehow he's involved in the background with a lot of things that happen in this area. We'll be back in a moment. Call a friend. Stay tuned.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our Star Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on the air. Again, my name is J.W. Simmons. I'm your host. We're talking with Ray Jordan. He holds a couple of titles here. He's the Executive Director of Sampson County Exhibition Center, also Assistant Director of Sampson County Economic Development. We're focused on the Exhibition Center now, Ray, and I want to kind of carry through some of our conversation from the first segment. The activities that's going on there now sometimes gets involved, and you become focused on creating events at times. I want to make sure folks understand the Exhibition Center is there to be rented for folks that have, and you mentioned banquets a while ago, give us a great explanation on the history. But that has become a focal point, not only for activities for folks to come in, but also for creativity in developing and generating activity at that center that brings, I will say, hundreds of thousands of dollars to the community over a year. Let's talk about that a minute.
So, as you mentioned, I work for the Expo Center and I work for the Economic Development Commission. So, the question could be raised is, what does one have to do with the other? So with the Economic Development Commission, obviously our primary focus there is how can that organization increase the non-residential tax base, which is what our primary is. But along with that is, you've got these other areas that impact economic development and or growth, not just for economic development, but for attracting a doctor or attracting employees to the community or to the county. So, part of what we do is we oftentimes partner and try to foster events that are aimed at trying to improve or enhance the quality of life within the county, in the community. So, these events, JD, think about it this way. I was speaking with someone from the hospital, and, think about the idea of trying to recruit a doctor to this community. You've got to have someone that wants to live in a small town. And we need those. And we need, but oftentimes the spouse wants more amenities. They want things to do. They want be able to see a play or attend a concert, those things, without having to go somewhere all the time. So those are the things that we kind of get involved with from the backside. So in that, we partner with the Arts Council. We partner with a lot of the county departments for events. We partner with the Parks and Rec. We've partnered with several of the county's organizations to try to help and push events that enhance the quality of life and give people things to do rather than having to go travel everywhere to do that. As an example, and obviously we try to do things that are that don't cost the county any money, but yet at the same time, we're always trying to look at things that we can do and bring in that will enhance the spending of those visitors while they're in the community. So we're partnering with the CVB, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Arts Council, and other organizations in the community. And I if I name them all or try to, I'm always leave someone out. So, but there's more than that in there. So what you're trying to do, as an example, you recall several years ago, within a couple of years of each other, we had two events. One was the Hemmings Motorsports. They call it the Great Race. And that event was a antique car race that goes, and the year it came through our community, went from Maine to Florida. And it's a timed race. When I say race, people think a cannonball run. It's not. It wasn't that.
Different kind of race.
Different kind of race, but it's similar, But those people that participated in that, they're driving these antique cars that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they came through here, spent the night. We provided an entertainment concert. So I remember that particular year, and then when we did the Cycle NC event, where we had all the cyclists that had with that, they would bicycle from the mountains to the coast. Yep. So they had an overnight stay here. So in those cases, especially with Cycle NC, we had every hotel room in Sampson County full.
And surrounded.
And we chartered buses to take those people to I-40, the hotels out there at 24. And then we had probably 300 or 400 slept in tents in the parking lot at the Expo Center. But in each of those cases, all those visitors were spending money here on food, drink, lodging, and not to mention, like with the car race, they stopped in different towns from Maine to Florida and along the way through, and they did so in our county. So it's those type of events there as well. And then, the other things that we do is, we're on, like looking to the future, we're working to now to create some events that will have community, that people want to come to. So we've had some recent conversations about having essentially our version of America's Got Talent. So that's something that's in the works that you hear more about. We've also talked about having, and most of the churches in our community have Christmas programs. But there's really not been many public Christmas events. You got Christmas in the city. So this year the Alive After 5 committee is going to present a Christmas concert at, I can't remember the date, that we'll be promoting and announcing soon. And it'll be all Christmas music for the public to come to.
And that'll be at the Civic Center.
Be at the Civic Center. And then another thing that we're working towards is, what a group of us have met and talked about producing a Christmas event of local talent. So, and obviously, when you get school kids and groups like that, the theater, whatever, who we bring to it, you're going to get local buy-in from it. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the things that we're working on now, and we're doing it for folks to have entertainment choices. Mm-hmm. Obviously, celebrate the holidays kind of thing. And then the other thing is to create economic development in there. Because think about this: most time, if we host an event at the Expo Center, that, for example, like the Christmas concert, in a lot of those cases, you're going to bring your family to town or have dinner somewhere, and then you're going to come to the show. That happens all over. Mm-hmm. I mean, the economic impact and how that rolls back out.
I think the interesting part when I heard you talking about that is it's almost like you're giving folks buy-in to the whole process and that idea of partnerships. One of the things that struck me is you were talking about events, and one that I attended or participated in that was just tremendous for me was the Ag Day event that was just recently, when I say recently, a few months back, held out there. And it was like I had folks come up to me and say, this is like the county fair that we used to have. I mean, every inch of that facility, indoors and outdoors, was filled up. Yep. But that takes planning.
That's right. And, for the Ag Day is an event sponsored and produced by the Sampson County Cooperative Extension Service. And, in that case, they rented the building from us, but we were a partner with them, along with the Convention Visitor Bureau and others, to produce that event. And, and like you said, it was a great day for folks to come out, have a good family day, and also to learn more about agriculture.
I want to give you a few minutes here before we go to break to touch on Class Acts. That's something that, and we might need to carry it over, but we got about a minute here to hit that. So
the Class Act series is a program that we started 22 years ago, and the Class Act series affords every student in Sampson County schools, Clinton City schools, Harrells, Mints, whatever. If you're a student in grade levels 1 through 8, you have the opportunity to attend live performing arts productions. And 2 years we were shut down because of COVID. So though we're in year 22, we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of the series. So coming up in April 26th through the 30th, we will be presenting 2 performance each day, where, as an example, the first grade and second grade will come on one day and we'll go through the week. And these students will get to come in and see a live event that we've produced. And all the best part, JW, is that it's free to the students, and all the money that it takes to produce the series is donated by the citizens and businesses of our community.
That's a tremendous way to not only have a partnership, but have a revolving partnership. 20 years is a tremendous amount of time. And the only thing I can think about is apparently something's right, or people wouldn't be coming back. Right.
Well, that's one thing that, it's what I have found with Class Acts is when you go to a potential sponsor and you let them know that you're going to have 8,000 students coming in that school year, they tend to open their pocketbooks up and support it, because it is free, and it's a very good program that supports the education of the students. So what happens there is that educational component, we try to present performances that are grade level specific, that fit the curriculum of that grade level. Mm-hmm. And then we provide teachers with the study guides that they can use to prepare the students.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, I want to kind of prepare folks. I'm going to shift and ask you to put on that other hat, that economic development hat, and talk about some of the things that has happened, some of the potential things that may be happening in that field, because everybody's always interested about economic development because of income, because of jobs, because of potential financial growth. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Ray Jordan about a number of issues impacting Sampson and surrounding counties and about things that could be impacting your life. Stay tuned. Call a friend. We'll be back in a moment.
Just because something may work doesn't mean it's right for your business. Let Star Communications' knowledgeable consultants help you customize a hosted voice system that's right for you. Our dedicated experts work with you to understand your business needs and guide you at every step, from choosing and installing services to ongoing maintenance and support. Contact Star today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know's on there. We're talking with Ray Jordan. We're going to kind of change hats a little bit, Ray. We're going to move to something that we refer to as the EDC, Economic Development. But that particular area that you're involved in a very aggressive way, has had some tremendous changes over the past 2 or 3 years. The focus has become, at least in my observation, become more directed, more systemic in approach. And it also has become more inclusive. One of the things I picked up just looking at some background information is that it says that the Economic Development Commission now is We Are Connected, or We're Connected. Let's start with that and how important that is, and then you just take us where we need to go with that.
So I have been involved with the Economic Development Commission for some time as assistant director. Our director of the Economic Development Commission is Stephen Barrington. Stephen came on board, I think this October will be 3 years since he's been with us in the county. And JW, I'll start by this. 5 years ago or 4 years ago, the Economic Development Commission was doing its thing and working and having some success, but it was the credit for where we are today needs to be placed at the hands right now of the county commissioners. The county commissioners made a commitment about 3.5 years ago toward economic development, and where they rolled out the economic development and fund that helps, where they set money aside for economic development, which had not been done in the 15 years prior that I'd worked for the county. So we start there in that, the foresight of the commissioners, the commitment of the commissioners, because there's a lot of wants and needs in this county, but they were forward looking in doing that. The commissioners, along with the county manager, Mr. Causey, they've all embarked on how to grow the community and grow the non-residential tax base. So, firmly, we need to everybody understand that was something that the commissioners have led, and they've allowed us to have the opportunity to work towards that goal and do that. So, to that end, you're exactly right. The Economic Development Commission, I'm not going to say was working in a silo, because it was not, but compared to today, you could say it was working in a silo. It wasn't, but it was. But today, the Sampson County has an economic development team. And obviously it's Steve and myself and Brandy who are the employees of it, but we partner and we have others on our team that are in local government. For example, we have the Public Works Director because of water and sewer infrastructure. We've got the county attorney because we're negotiating to buy property or to sell property, and the legal ramifications of that. We also at times bring in folks from Parks and Rec from the hospital, depending on what the need is. But we have this group, the finance officer, the assistant county manager. So there's this team of folks that are now meeting where maybe before it was more of the staff itself. So we've got a wider reach and understanding. So when we have conversations about economic development or about what we're doing, we have more sounding board with among the group and the people at the table. That makes sense?
It does. And I recall having, at the time, it was chairman, the Board of Commissioners at the time was Clark Wooten, and he came on and specifically alluded to exactly what you're talking about, the inclusivity idea with economic development, not just 2 or 3 people, not just 4 or 5, but it's everyone's role to be part of the development and growth of the county.
That's right. And if you recall, I guess it would be 3 years ago now when this began, Mr. Wooten and the commissioners and the county manager went on the road across the county, and ultimately at the end of the day, they met with over 100 organizations and times with people to explain and have understanding and try to create dialogue about economic development and what it means. And so, the more people understood what, it's one thing to tell a story, but you got to tell your story, what you're trying to do, but you got to understand, what do people want?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, so they were fact finding, they were gathering information and trying to create an understanding of why economic development is so important. I mean, you're either going to grow or you're going to die.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I walked away with the idea that everybody's a part of this.
Oh yeah, for example, what we do on a daily basis is not possible without landowners. So it's landowners across this county, utilities. I mean, there's so many people that they don't realize the role it plays. So as an example, let's say if you have, like, back to the entertainment we're talking about. So if we're working to recruit an industry into the community who's oftentimes when an industry comes, their management staff's going to come from somewhere else, initially anyway. So, you've got to, that's why it's so important for activities and things to do in quality of life, because you want those people to come here. They want to know you got good schools. They want to know that you, probably the most important thing they want to know is, how are you going to treat us? Are we just going to be a number, or are we going to be in a partnership? And what we hear is, we want to be a part of the community, but it's got to be a win-win.
And I think one of the things that I heard too, and I'm thinking in terms now of looking at some of the things that's happened. I think about Montauk. I think about the renewal of the Brooks Brothers, former Brooks Brothers location in Garland. For a county with about 60,000+ people, both of those individually is huge inputs to the population of this county.
That's correct. So if you think about economic development projects, and what most people probably look at the hardest is the announcements. So if you start back maybe 5 years ago, with the largest announcement that had been for the tax base wise was in Viva Project, which is over at the intersection of I-40 and 403. That was a $130 million project. They have about 80 people working. Then we talked about Brooks Brothers. As you know, Brooks Brothers closed the Garland shirt factory, which is what it was called, and subsequently a buyer purchased that facility and has reopened it. Now, really, that in itself is somewhat phenomenal, because cut and sew operations really are not a growing, for them to do that and do it in Sampson County says a lot. But what boiled down to that was the owner or the purchaser was very impressed by the work ethic and the folks that were trained already, so that we weren't coming and trying to totally train a workforce on cut and sew operations. That's what it is. But they're at Garland Shirt Factory before it closed, and now they're making uniforms for the Army. It's so much more.
Face mask and everything else.
It's so much more than what people realize, and then the impact that it has on, especially on Garland and its tax base.
Yeah, I think the key issue for me is that just over the past, as you just mentioned, 3 to 5 years, there's been a tremendous shift in the direction and the sale of economic development now seems to represent the totality of the communities in the county. So I want to kind of give you a couple of minutes just to speak to that. We're going to go to break. When we come back from break, we're going to talk about something I know that's near and dear to your heart, and that's Live After 5. But just give us about a 2-minute monologue there on where we're at with economic development.
So it's very exciting times for economic development. And as we said, we've got this team approach that we're working on, and Stephen and Brandon, myself, and others are working towards this. But some of the exciting things is it all stems back to the commissioner. So we got to make sure everybody clearly understands that we've recently purchased within the past 18 months about 120 acres of land within the industrial park in Clinton. So this is the first time since that I've worked for the county that we actually have land that we can control and can be able to provide and show to an industry, and it's ready to go. It's got the water, the gas, the sewer, the fiber, the high-speed internet, the infrastructure that we're setting the table for someone to come in and do that. Also, one of the points that the commissioners made, JW, was that they want us to work everywhere in Sampson County. A little bit later, we bought the former Blue Diamond facility in Roseboro. We're working to upfit that and property there. So we're working in Western Sampson. And just recently, as you may have heard or seen, the Board of Commissioners just this week approved for the purchase, an option purchase on 210 acres of property in Newton Grove that abuts I-40 on interchange, which is huge, a huge benefit to us as we're working to bring industry in.
These are the kinds of things that folks need to know more about and need to feel like they're part of. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a bit about a project that's been going on for 10 plus years now. And a lot of people's familiar with it, but this year, due to your efforts and a lot of folks, we've got an outstanding slate of folks, and we want to try to get that word out early. So maybe people can just kind of plan around and schedule time for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Ray Jordan, and as always, this is one of those shows that we could probably do a semester on rather than a 50-minute show, but we're going to try to cover as much as we can. Stay tuned, call a friend. We'll be back in a moment for more of We Should Know.
To get the most out of your electronic devices, you need a strong internet connection and a protected home Wi-Fi network. You need high-speed internet from Star. Star has the fastest, most affordable high-speed internet service available for all your devices. We have no long-term contracts or high-pressure sales. Our service speaks for itself, and switching is hassle-free. We take care of everything with free installation from a local company. High-speed internet from Star. Internet at the speed of life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're coming up on our last segment here on We Should Know. I want to thank you for being with us today. Also, thank you for continuing to contact us at weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. That's weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. Your suggestions, comments are very important to us, and we certainly follow through on that. The other thing I want to remind you is this show is simulcast on WCLN Radio, Star Communications, the TV side, that's Channel 16, also 314 as I remember, but Channel 16 is the key there. You can always get us there to the visual piece, and that's Tuesday, Thursday replays at 7 p.m. And every Tuesday at 2:30 the show originates, so you can pick it up there. That's when the simulcast happens with WCLN. Today we've been talking with Ray Jordan, and of course Ray, when he comes, brings a bag full of things that you're dealing with. In fact, Ray, I'm going to say instead of hats, you bring multiple bags of stuff. We've talked about the Civic Center. We have talked about economic development. In fact, on break, we probably just spent enough time on break. We could have done another show, but it's interesting because there's so much content and so much going on in the background that quite often many of us never see, but yet the wheels have got to turn and somebody's got to hold them. So we appreciate you doing that. We want to use this last segment to talk about something that's been going on now for 10 plus years. It's called Live After 5. It's a number of events that is occurring right here in the county seat of Sampson that I'm going to call them major events. And the thing that always is interesting to me is free to the public. but yet sponsors, businesses, and individuals make it possible because they donate to this event and been doing it for that many years. How did that start?
Jed, if you go back to the roots of Alive After 5, former city manager John Conant, when he was here, John and I had some conversations about trying to do some sort of concert series for the public. And we talked it, but it was not until the time that a citizen came to us and said, we'd like to see some kind of concerts here. And so we met with him, and he said, he gave us some ideas for things. And as we talked, and we pulled a few more people in, and ultimately what we boiled down to was we created the Alive After 5 concert series. And the first year we presented 5 concerts. I think from the conversation from that citizen that participated, he didn't even envision what we wound up presenting. In his mind was to have some local entertainment things, and so we went a step ahead and started trying to bring in regional entertainers, and it's been going now. This year will be the 11th season of Alive After 5 concert series.
A tremendous effort on your part and a committee that, and there's been a number of people that has served on that committee. I know Robert Stroud with the Boogie Shoes Radio Network is a huge promoter. A lot of the music that is played live, he of course does that weekly on his weekly radio show. So I want to start out and kind of get a sense so people will know what we're talking about here. This season kicks in May 19th.
That's correct.
With a band called Jim Quick and Coastline Band. Now, for me, I'm familiar with some of these bands, but you got a lot more depth. Jim Quick is very, very popular in this area, and I suspect in different places in North Carolina, but extremely popular in this area.
He is, and like I said, this year we're going to present 5 concerts. We'll be presenting concerts in May, June, August, September, and October. And remind me at the end, we'll tell you about one other special event we're doing later. But yes, we're kicking off on May 19th with Jim Quick and Coastline. Jim has got a big following. He was here at our very first season. He actually was the first band we presented the first season. And he's got a large following, and he works between here, Myrtle Beach, and Tennessee, and he's got quite a bit of a following. So we're very excited to be able to present them this season. The second band we'll be presenting this season is the Cat 5 Band on June 19th. And then August.
June 16th.
Yeah. June 16th.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. I was getting my dates messed up. Then in August, we'll be presenting the band Too Much Sylvia. And then September. No, August is the band of, August is going to be the Embers featuring the Craig Woolard. So that's going to be a good one for us. We've only presented the Embers, this will be the second time, and they have a tremendous following. They're considered basically they're considered the inventors of beach music in the beach music shag.
It's almost like they created beach music.
I mean, it's funny. They've been around a long time, and they'll do a great show. And then August, we're having Too Much Sylvia.
Well, August is Embers, and then Embers. September is Too Much Sylvia.
Too Much Sylvia. And then we'll close out the season with one that's always a crowd favorite, the Band of Oz. And all these dates are online at aliveafter5clintonnc.com. So you can go there and find out all the information and details about that. That's aliveafter5 at clintonnc.com.
And we'll try to post that on the TV site too, so folks can pick that up.
And we also are on social media on Facebook, so folks can find us there, and there's all kind of details on there. And we are just now wrapping up, as of today, the fundraising season for the current concert series. And when I left the office earlier today, we had 101 sponsors. And JW, can't say enough about that. Last year was the 10th anniversary, and better than half of our sponsors have been a sponsor for all 10 years. So, that says a lot about the commitment of our sponsors and how much they value what it does for our community.
And I think when I look at it, this event is sponsored by the Arts Council, the County of Sampson, and the City of Clinton. So you've got a conglomerate of supporters, and particularly I think it bodes well for the Arts Council, of which you're a board member there.
That's correct. I can't say enough that the concert series, as you said, is presented by the city, the county, and the Arts Council. And it's made possible by the financial contributions of all of our sponsors. The City of Clinton participates. They provide law enforcement, the space. County allows my time to go towards that, and so we've got a lot of things going there, and we've got a very good committee. And I do want to say this publicly, that this series would not be possible without that committee. It is not the Ray Jordan show by any means. You've been on the committee for a long time. Daryl Jones, Cody Smith from Newton Grove, Ross Kimbrough, Steve Tanner, Kara Donatelli, and Stephanie Gray. That's who makes up our committee this year. There's been others in the past, but we're very thankful that we've got a strong committee that works hard to present this for our community.
You mentioned special event. I want to be sure we have time for you to get that in.
Yeah. So this year with the Alive After 5, when we were booking our shows, the committee had the idea or the thought because we were having discussions about entertainment options that were other than this. I mean, that what we could do to add to the series. So this year, in December, and I cannot recall the date, but we will share it with everyone. We will be presenting Christmas with the Embers. So it'll be a concert at the Expo Center, and it will be a ticketed event, unlike the Alive After 5, but the proceeds from the event will benefit a local organization. And that's not been yet nailed down, because we just literally have got this done. So we're very excited that we'll be able to present a full-blown Christmas concert. And those of you that have seen the Embers, I will tell you, this is a Christmas show. This is not a beach music show.
And the key word there underlined is show.
Show.
They do a show.
It is not a dance. It is a Christmas concert with all Christmas music.
And I think one of the things that's interesting is the fact that it does, as you said, support a local need in the community. With that said, would you say to folks, if you have something, or if you'd like to recommend somebody or some organization that's doing something, to give you a call and let you know? Or certainly, if there's there's so many organizations in the county, and what our goal is to try to find an organization that we can that is serving youth, or that's our direction, or maybe the elderly. Mm-hmm. And so we're certainly open to ideas, but it would have to be a bona fide nonprofit that we would do something with. So if anybody has a suggestion or idea or recommendation, they can email it to me at rjordan@sampsonexpocenter.com. And I think one of the things that strikes me too is not only with that event, but other things that you've supported in the past has been a total community effort. Mm-hmm. The sponsorships run from like $250 for patron or individuals up to $5,000. And I think people can look at, when they go to that website, they can look at all the information and decide if they want to make a contribution. And there's little perks that go along with that kind of help people decide which slot they want to get in. But the huge thing here is that you're looking at a number of events that literally would be very expensive. So last few comments for about 30 seconds, right? So
with Alive After 5, we're though we're closing out, if someone with the concert series, with the sponsorships, you're not only supporting the community, you get tickets and perks and all that to go along with it. So we're very excited about it, and we're very thankful to be on the show today. And we look forward to having great things happen in our community, and we always appreciate what you do and Star Communications for all their support.
We thank you for being with us, and as always, we'll look forward to having you back. And again, many times we end up with conversations on breaks and off air that I'd love to get on air, so we look forward to having you back, Ray.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. Again, this is another worthy opportunity for you to see things that are happening right here and also be part of those things. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Star Communications Channel 16. May God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.